This is Who Said Avery, and what we have here is a little Salem fresh side jukebox radio from probably the early 90s. If this looks familiar, this is basically the same thing as a Thomas or a Crosley CR11 jukebox radio. I can already tell you, I'm almost certain that this thing was made in-house by the same company that made the Crosley and the Thomas, because it's basically the same thing. Only difference is this one is Salem. I don't know if this was like a promotional product that Salem Cigarette Company was offering. I don't know, but the only reason I got this is because I've wanted one of these since I was like probably 8 or 9, maybe younger than that. But normally when one pops up on Marketplace, it's too far away or the people want dumb amounts of money for them. This one was 20, and the radio works, but the seller told me that the tape deck does not, and we're going to find that out. More than likely the belts are bad, but first let's power it on and just see what it does. I'm sure those scratchy potentiometers are going to be present, and that's exactly the case. Oh, it's on tape. Yeah, we're going to have to clean those controls.
Shooting in June. Don't try to fight
Cricket childbirth
on his
Anyway, let's try AM. Probably not going to pick up much of nothing at this hour, but
all brands of heating and air systems. And of course,
that's 1010 AM WSPC out of Albemarle.
Remember the name.
And then a 1110's on here somewhere. But and that's 1580 WZKY, also Albemarle, because WZKY and WSPC are both the same station or owned by the same owner. Alright, let's try the tape out and see what it does. Let's see, the tape part goes down. Well, the mech ain't working. Tell you what, let's take it apart and see what's going on. Alright, here's the inside of it. And there's the chassis right there. Thankfully, this one's going to be easy to access in terms of the pinch roller and the head. In fact, looking at the player, I'm starting to wonder if this player was ever even used, because there's no dirt or anything on the head, and the pinch roller actually looks like it might be dry rotted and cracked. But when you slide the tape in, it's supposed to engage and the button is supposed to pop out. But for some odd reason, it's acting like it don't want to take the tape. Something must be jamming up on this thing, because oh, I just figured out what's going on. This thing right here for the tape stop that makes the motor shut off at the end of the tape is actually jamming up and causing the tape not to go in. So let me attempt to get the tape past that and see if we can. There we go. Okay, that's what it's supposed to do. Now, I can already tell you the belts are most likely going to be trashed. Let's see what this thing does. Oh yeah, well actually, you know what? Maybe the belt is good. Hold on a minute. Okay, I bent the auto stop switch out of the way a little bit to hopefully be able to get a tape in there now. And then I rewound the tape and took all the slack up in it. So hopefully we can get this thing to cooperate. I may have to bend it a little bit more. I don't know, but let's see. Wow, look at the slack in that belt. But surprisingly, despite that slack in the belt, it's actually playing. Huh. See if fast forward works. Yeah, fast forward works. Well, how about that? I did not expect it to be that simple. I'm still going to replace the belt anyway, because it'd be my luck. I take this thing to the Cape Fear meet this Saturday night, and then the belt snap on site, and then, well, I'm just out of luck then. So I'm going to go and replace that belt, and there should be two of them, because there's one that goes to the capstan from the motor, and then there's one from the capstan pulley that goes to the take-up reel. So I'm going to go ahead and replace both of them. And while I'm in here, I'll go ahead and clean the capstan, the head, and I'll also demagnetize it. Even though I don't think this tape deck has ever been used, you might as well go ahead and do it all while I'm in here, you know. And of course, spray the controls. I'll do that as well, so we don't have any more of that scratchy potentiometer mess. And of course, it wouldn't be a Crosley without all of this hot glue, or as Radio TV Fun. Well, I'm not going to say what Radio TV Funonut calls it, because it's not exactly family friendly. But anyway, I'm going to attempt to get this chassis out of here and get that belt replaced, and I'll be back with you here in just a moment. So I was hoping I wouldn't have to do this, but sadly, I think I'm going to have to. These two wires right here, the positive and negative, that go onto that circuit board that provide power for all the little lights that illuminate the tubes. Sadly, I think I'm going to have to unsolder these wires, because there's no way I'm going to be able to get this chassis out without them wires breaking, and I do not want to break them. So I'm going to have to take my soldering iron, stick it down in there, and remove it from that circuit board, or unsolder it. Get it to focus. There we go. See? It's the third ones from the bottom. Right there, the positives on the left hand and the negatives on the right. So, yeah, as much as I hate to, I'm going to have to unsolder them, but sometimes you gotta do stuff, I guess. Well, that was a little bit harder than what I was wanting it to be, but I did manage to get it apart. I had to take the speaker out because I didn't feel like unsoldering even more wires, and then obviously the two wires for the light circuitries right here, again the positive and the negative. So basically there's three screws right here, see, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to loosen those, and this whole tape mech will pop out, and then I'll go ahead and put new belts on it, and go ahead and do the full tune-up while I have the mech out, and then we'll get this thing back in order. And ironically, this speaker looks virtually identical to the ones that are in my Iowa CSW 100 portable boombox. Except the only difference is the wires for the voice coil don't come down as far as the Crosley does. These are a little bit more close to the voice coil on the center. And here's the shell for the jukebox. See, that's what it looks like when it's all taken apart. I'll tell you one thing, I dread the day that I have to replace these lamps when they blow out, because they do blow out eventually, and I dread it. It's going to be such a nightmare changing them things out. Alright, so here's the mech. Check this out. That's what happens when a tape deck sits idle for several years, people. There's the belt for the take-up reel. Not as bad as the main drive one, but again, we're doing it all while we're in here and doing it right the first time. And looking at the flywheel, it looks like it might actually be off balance a little bit. But again, it doesn't matter. This isn't a Nakamichi Dragon tape deck. This is a novelty radio. Let me go grab my bag of belts and I'll be right back. Alright. That looks so much better than it did. No more floppy flop. Alright, see how it works. Alright, good deal. No more floppy flop. Fast forward still works. I'm having to use this Seaberg background music because this isn't copyrighted and the copyright police won't have an organism. So sounds like the azimuth might be off a little bit. The azimuth could stand to be adjusted a little. And also it looks like my button needs a little glue, so I'll monkey around with that later. But yeah, I think the azimuth might need a little alignment. But I'm not going to do that until I get it all put back together in the cabinet. I'm going to wipe that out a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and start putting this thing back together. Alright, and chassis all put back in, and I got everything soldered back in place, and we're pretty much good to go now. I did something a little different though. Instead of the wires running around the chassis, it was really hard and I didn't have enough wire to make it work, so I fed them through this hole, but they're wired the same as it was, so it's not going to make a difference and no one's ever going to know this even happened. I will probably take a twist tie and bundle these up with the rest of these wires to relieve them of stress, but again, no one's going to know that it's like that and it's not going to hurt nothing. Something I do want to try is I want to see if the auto stop on the tape deck actually works. Well, it'd probably help if I plug the thing in. Okay. And it looks like it ain't engaging enough. It needs some adjustment. Alright, that's better. That's more like it. One more time in case you didn't see it. Alright, good deal. So now the auto stop works like it should. I basically just bent this prong right here on the micro switch that closes and opens it. I basically bent it up a little bit to where this finger comes in contact with it easier. Alright, I adjusted the azimuth as needed, and I also tuned the speed a little bit on the motor. And I made sure I have everything put back together. All we got to do left is just stick the cover on, and then we'll be done with this. And there it is, folks, all reassembled and good to go. So a brief recap on what we did on this tonight. We took the tape mech out. We changed both the belts that were stretched out from sitting for so long. We cleaned the head, demagnetized it. We also cleaned the capstan, adjusted the azimuth, and we also had to adjust the auto stop switch to where it would shut off at the end of the tape and it would not jam up whenever loading a tape. So after all was done and said, it's working like it should now. And we did clean the inside of the cabinet up a little bit. So anyway, we'll close with the little Ritchie Valens because that seems fitting for this little guy. So we'll see you next time, folks.